8,
You're watching
7,
Experience Comic Culture and Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Dan Wickline Show. It is Thursday. I know it's Thursday now. I didn't earlier today because I do the social media posts for the site, or for the Experience, and I put up all the Friday stuff thinking today was going to be Friday. I was certain it was Friday, and then I was waiting for some stuff to post, and I realized that no, today was Thursday. I had to quickly go out and do that. But today is a weird day because in about 25 minutes, the verdict is supposed to come in on the Donald Trump. I don't know what to call the case because they call it a hush money trial, but it's not really a hush money trial. It's improper filing. Anyway, that verdict is supposed to be in, and that's a pretty big thing. So we're not going to talk politics here, but because this is a former president of the United States on trial and the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party for the upcoming election, we will at least announce what the verdict is when it comes in. But again, we're not going to get into deep trial. This is normally not a political space, and will continue to be because of the importance of the verdict. We will let you know. That way you don't have to switch over to CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whatever your poison of choice is to, find out and miss the show. So you can get it here along with some comic book news and some fun stuff. So stick around. We'll be right back with the Dan Wickline Show. Welcome, everybody, to the Dan Wickline Show here on Thursday, March 30th. We're almost done with this, May 30th. We're almost done with the month, and we're going to be coming up to the halfway point of the year soon. Isn't that amazing? Hello to Triple B. Good to see you. Hello to anybody else who's out there. And we are going to jump into the news because there's a ton of it. Hell, there's something that just broke as I was getting on the air, and this has nothing to do with Trump. This is Chris Hemsworth is in talks to star in Paramount's Transformers G.I. Joe crossover movie. Now, very little details about it, but that's just the first thing. Deadline is reporting it. Upon finalizing the deal, this will put the Melrose Avenue lot back in business with Hemsworth, who is already starring in Paramount Animation HBO's Transformers 1. So, yeah. So whatever he's doing there, he's moving over to the crossover. Pretty cool. I don't know about you guys. I liked the Snake Eyes movie. It wasn't great, but there was some potential there. I liked Henry Golding as Snake Eyes. I thought that had some potential. So I hope they build upon that one too and bring him back. I just saw an interesting interview with him and Henry Cavill and a couple of the people from the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. And they were talking about working out for the movie and how they all kind of went to the gym one day, watched Alan Richardson work out and went, "You can be the buff guy, Alan. We're going to go back and get some pasta." So, all right, let's get into the news that I had prepared for the show. Speaking of big people, Nicholas Galitzine, he's done pretty well for himself with Prime Video, having just done the movies The Idea of You, Red, White, and Royal Blue. So he's going to stick with the streamer for his next project, which just happens to be Masters of the Universe. That's right. Galitzine is going to play He-Man. Now, of course, There's no details about the film out there yet. They're keeping it all under wraps. But this is, pretty much going to adapt the iconic Mattel franchise. It's going to be directed by Travis Knight, who's going to be working from a script that had Chris Butler working on it, David Callahan, Aaron Nee, and his brother Adam Nee. Now, the film will be released exclusively in theaters on June 5th, 2026. That's going to be a busy summer, 2026, because a lot of the big tentpole movies are being pushed and pushed and pushed. So summer of 26 is going to be huge. Galazian talked to the casting saying, "I'm so beyond proud to announce that I will be playing Adam, Prince of Eternia in Masters of the Universe. It has been a dream for so long to play someone of his heart, humor, and heroism. I can't wait to get started." Okay. Moving on. More casting. We got a lot of casting news. And this one's interesting because it's been rolling out over the last 2 days. We got the announcement that the Knives Out, Glass Onion third movie is going to be Wake Up Dead Man. So as soon as the name starts coming in, I start thinking about, the last two movies. And so far, we've got Josh O'Connor, Kaylee Spaney, Andrew Scott, Kerry Washington, and Glenn Close. Now, that's just when I was writing up the news. And of course, we don't know where the plot's going to be, who these characters are going to play, but Rian Johnson is building up a cast of big names and rising stars like he did with the first two movies. O'Connor is best known for playing Prince Charles in The Crown. Spaney just played Priscilla Presley in the film Priscilla. Andrew Scott, of course, we know him from the Sherlock series as Moriarty, but he's also doing an amazing job on the role of a serial killer on the role of Ripley. And of course, Kerry Washington, we've known her for years from the series Scandal. And if you don't know who Glenn Close is, I can't help you. I'm just, Fatal Attraction. Just go from there. Anyway, all of this news has been coming out, and I kept thinking, okay, which actor from the MCU is going to end up being the killer? I mean, Glenn Close was in Guardians of the Galaxy. She could technically be, but, first, if you've seen the movies, if you haven't, it's spoilers, but if you've seen the movies, you know what I'm talking about. Well, just as we were about to come on air, it was announced that two more people have been cast. Mila Kunis and Jeremy Renner. Yep. Maybe we have our killer after all. This is the first film Renner has signed on for since his snowplow accident. He's gone back to acting. He's finished the third season of Mayor of Kingstown, which is going to come out soon. But this will be his first movie. Who is Glenn Close? Glenn Close, he was in that movie with Sydney Sweeney just recently. While most people love the Peter Jackson adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, I mean, come on. We've all seen them. We've seen the extended editions. We've watched through the 97 endings. It's a great adaptation. But longtime Tolkien fans were a little upset by the exclusion of the character of Tom Bombadil. Now, Bombadil is an enigmatic creature with immense power that shows up at one point and saves the hobbits in the first book. It's a really weird side trip that happens, and I totally get why Jackson cut it out. But people were upset about that. Well, fans are going to be happy now because Tom Bombadil is going to appear in the second season of The Lord of the Rings or The Rings of Power, which is way too long of a title for a TV show. But Rory Kinnear is going to be playing Tom Bombadil. And we've known for a while that Kinnear was part of the second season, but we had no idea who he was playing. But now there's photos out there, official photos, stuff like that. And from what we can see, he's going to come across the stranger, who is played by Daniel Wayman, and the two Harfoots he's traveling with, Nori and Poppy, played by Markella Kavanaugh and Megan Richards. Now, the identity of the stranger is still a mystery, but there's a lot of speculation out there that he's an early version of Gandalf the Grey. The problem with that is there's some timing issues, that Gandalf wasn't the first wizard to appear on Earth. So they got some splaining to do if it does turn out to be Gandalf. But it could be somebody else. It'd be interesting. Okay, moving on. More casting news. The upcoming adaptation of Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' Criminal, they've started casting. Now, we already knew about Richard Jenkins joining the show, but they've added 2 new names. And the first one is Adria Arjona, who's in the Hitman show and was a major character in Andor. Arjona is going to play Greta, who's a top-level car thief and driver, who is also a widowed mother. Her husband gets killed in a bank robbery gone wrong, and she's looking for that one big score to get out of the game so then she could just, take care of her daughter. Also among the cast, playing Gnarly, a former boxer, is a Different Worlds Kadeem Hardison. And I got to tell you, I have not been keeping up with Kadeem Hardison, but he's been doing a lot over the last few years, but nothing huge. So it's cool to see him jump in on this. The character Gnarly is a local legend. He can go from warm to fierce in a heartbeat, it says. He commands respect partly because he can inflict massive physical damage, even at his advanced age, and partly because he has the authority and gravitas to stop other men in their tracks. Now, for me, I just love seeing a good crime drama coming in. This is all based off of the award-winning graphic novels by Brubaker and Phillips, but Brubaker is involved. I think he's the co-showrunner and producer, and Phillips is another producer on the show. So this looks like it's going to be a really good adaptation. All right. George R.R. Martin has called out producers and screenwriters who change things from the books. Hey, Ed, good to see you. He says, everywhere you look, there are more screenwriters and producers eager to take great stories and make them their own. It does not seem to matter whether the source material was written by Stan Lee, Ian Fleming, Roald Dahl, Ursula K. Le Guin, J.R.R. Tolkien, Mark Twain, Jane Austen, or, well, anybody. No matter how major a writer it is, no matter how great the book is, there always seems to be someone on hand who thinks they can do it better, eager to take the story and improve upon it. The book is the book. The film is the film, they will tell you, as if they were saying something profound. Then they make the story their own. They never make it better, though. 999 times out of 1,000, they make it worse. Maybe he's having a little buyer's remorse with his deals on Game of Thrones, or the upcoming Egg series. Hey, Lorena, good to see you. All right, and finally, Leslie Headland is the showrunner for The Acolyte, which will be coming up soon. And if you look online, some people have actually called it the Wokalite for having a diverse cast. Well, Headland spoke on the fan hate she's received since taking on the project. She said, as a fan myself, I know how frustrating some Star Wars storytelling in the past has been. I've felt it myself. I stand by my empathy for Star Wars fans, but I want to be clear. Anyone who engages in bigotry, racism, or hate speech, I don't consider a fan. She has also spoke about the difficulty in pleasing everyone with more than half a century worth of lore out there to contend with. She said, you're thinking, this is what people want from Star Wars. This is what people don't want. It can be a mess. It can mess with your head. During the creative process, I had to give myself the forgiveness as an artist to fall off the razor as long as I got back up. That was my promise to myself. So, what's JD saying? And yet McFarlane is over here saying, why would you want the same Spawn as the comic? You already have that. True. So who's the better teller, McFarlane or George R.R. Martin? Let's think about that as we go to break. We'll be back in just a minute.
Twitch, it's not just what happens when you have too many energy drinks anymore. Check out our content over there, too.
Ask your local comic shop to add Battle Quest comics to your pull list today. Live from New York. What? Oh, sorry. Live from Cleveland? It's Friday night? It's Friday Night Live! With Nancy McCann. And Ricky. And sometimes Carlos. And featuring boxes and boxes of rare comics. Unique collectibles. Lots of smiles and conversations with new friends. Friday Night Live with Comics Unlimited. Friday night from 9 to 11 on The Experience.
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons and stick around. We have What's in the Box, Talk and Treat Trivia. Is that tonight? No. Oh, the Geek Chat and Sketch Up tonight. So you want to stick around for that. All right, as I promised at the beginning of the show, I am going to tell you this with no commentary and no opinion on it, because this isn't a political show, but it is breaking news. Donald Trump has been found guilty on all 34 counts, and the jury has now been excused with the judge's thanks. So there you go. Former president of the United States has been found guilty of campaign funding violations, I believe is the term they used. So we're not going to dwell on that. This is not the place for it. But because it is such a big deal, I did want to put the information out there for you. All right. We are going to move on. And just coincidentally, we're going to talk about villains. I've been seeing a lot online. There was a couple posts on different social media about what would happen if Batman and Spider-Man swapped villains. And people seem to think that Spider-Man would fare a lot better against the Gotham rogues than Batman would fare against the Senator's 60 or whatever, however many villains Spider-Man has. And that got me thinking. And then I saw someone else post, what if Dr. Doom ended up in the DC universe? Who would be his major arch villain? And I thought, okay, that's kind of a fun topic. Because when you create a villain, you tend to create them with a certain hero in mind. You create a hero for a certain villain, and you kind of craft them. Well, good writers craft them around that villain. So you would think that, a character like Galactus was built specifically for the Fantastic Four, or Red Skull makes sense with Captain America, but does he really fit against other people? So I thought, okay, let's take 10 Marvel characters, drop them in the DC universe, and we'll take 10 DC characters and drop them in the Marvel universe, and link them up to a certain hero. And you guys can tell me your thoughts on it. This is just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. But we'll go back and forth. But I'm going to tell you that of the 10, there's one on each team, or one on each from each publisher, that I had on the list, and I didn't bother to tie them to a certain hero because I think they're the same villain. They're pretty much identical. And if you took this character out of Marvel and dropped him into DC, and you took this other villain from DC and dropped him into Marvel, I don't think it would change much. I mean, some small parts, but so Thanos and Darkseid are pretty much the same villain. One wants the Infinity Gauntlet, the other wants the anti-life equation. One has different members of Titan, like his brother Eros and stuff like that. The other has his children and all of Apocalypse. I mean, you really could swap them, and Jim Starlin kind of made Thanos off of Darkseid. I mean, really. So we're going to take those two off the list. So it's going to be 9 and 9. So, but again, if there's any villains you guys want to know about, or if you disagree, please jump in. Now, we're going to start with Doctor Doom because that was the one that kind of started this. And looking at Doctor Doom, and I realized he was created for the Fantastic Four, I think you need a team to take on Doctor Doom. I think he's a little more than, the obvious thought, of course, would be, you could throw Superman at just about any of these people. And I'm trying to mix it up a bit. I think I only give one character to the villains. So I didn't want to go Superman, but I did want to do was I wanted to make Doctor Doom a Justice League villain. Because I kind of felt like he was that level, that you needed a team to take on Doctor Doom. He's that level of villain, and I like that one. And he's the only one that I've assigned to a team and not to an individual. It's like we go over to the DC side, and we take the Joker and we drop him into Marvel. The Joker to me feels like a Daredevil villain, because he's got the psychoses like the Purple Man. He's a little bit like the Jester, which is kind of a copy of the Joker. I just see him as being the type of character Daredevil would end up going up against. And Daredevil is kind of Marvel's Batman in a lot of ways. I mean, I know a lot of people say that Moon Knight is Marvel's Batman. And I disagree with that so much because Moon Knight is clearly Marvel's The Shadow. A lot of things line up. Batman's only close. So I think Daredevil and Batman kind of play the same role. They protect their area of the city or their city. They take on the psychotic criminals. So Joker, I would drop in the lap of Daredevil and be okay about it. I think he would do all right with the Joker. All right, bounce back over to DC, or back over to Marvel. The next up has got to be Magneto. I mean, Magneto, master of magnetism, really strong, really powerful. And it took me a while to kind of figure out who he should go up against in the DC universe. And it really just came down to Superman. Hey, Kenneth, how you doing? I think Magneto is pretty much Superman level because they always seem to kind of tone him down a little bit. But, there's iron in the blood. There's iron everywhere. There's metal everywhere. There's a lot Magneto could do. He's probably more powerful than anybody's really written him as. I mean, the end of X-Men 97, you see a glimpse of what he could do. And that is still just a tip of the iceberg. So, do you guys have somebody better in mind than Superman for Magneto? Ed says, I see what did there, Man of Steel, Magneto, clever. Yeah, something like that, Superman doesn't do well against magic, and they always put him up against aliens or really intelligent people. But I think Magneto is an earthbound villain that really could give Superman a run for his money, Is his power strong enough to encase Superman in lead long enough to get him away from the sun to depower him? I mean, that's pretty straightforward, but I think it would work. All right, bumping back over to the DC villains, Lex Luthor. Now, Lex Luthor, if you drop him into the Marvel Universe, there's kind of already a version of Lex Luthor in the Marvel Universe. It's just one that doesn't stand out that much because he's not that popular. But he has appeared in the movies, and that would be Obadiah Stane. So, to me, Lex Luthor becomes an Iron Man villain. You got the two geniuses battling against each other. Lex is going to make his mech suit. Iron Man's got his iron armor. They're going to go back and forth. That one seems pretty straightforward there. And so, I know. Obadiah Stane was bald. Lex Luthor was bald. Maybe that's a little too obvious. But I do feel like when they made Lex Luthor, or when they made Obadiah Stane, they were pretty much giving Iron Man a Lex Luthor. So, JD says, I think thematically, it's a good match up, a utopic representation of America's morality versus someone who is just as committed to his own ethical point of view. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I think Superman would actually have a hard time debating with Magneto. I think he would actually understand and maybe even kind of sway over to try to figure out a way to give the mutants some kind of like Krakoa or something like that earlier on. So, all right. So third on each list was the Darkseid and Thanos, and we're skipping those altogether. So we move over to fourth. And this is following the meme, but Green Goblin. Probably Spider-Man's most celebrated villain. I mean, yeah, sure, Doc Ock is loved. Vulture. I mean, there's a lot of great Spider-Man villains, but Green Goblin's kind of that top level. He's the guy. And it just makes sense for him to go up against Batman. I think that would be a fair matchup. Two billionaires battling against each other. And I think I'm falling into the Marvel trap of taking a villain and making it like the exact opposite of the hero. But that does seem to work. Ed says, I'd like to see Superman versus Galactus. I do have Galactus on the list, but I have someone else tied up. So I will come up to them. So I put Green Goblin against Batman because I think it really would be a fair matchup, Batman would figure out how to take out the bombs and stuff like that. Goblin would try to figure out how to, counter some of Batman's gadgets. It would be kind of an interesting, fair fight. On the Marvel side, Reverse Flash, I think, is a tough one because I was trying to think of what character could go up against Reverse Flash, and the only one I could think of is Spider-Man. Because of his senses, he might be the only one to get that warning in the Marvel Universe to be able to take out a speedster. If you've noticed that Marvel doesn't play a lot with speedsters. I mean, they've got two, but they're both pretty minor characters. Quicksilver, yeah, he was Avengers for a while. He was a mutant. I mean, he's a mutant, but he's never been put into that upper tier. And then Makari from the Eternals is another one that is, I think he's actually faster than Quicksilver, or she, if you watch the movies. But Marvel doesn't celebrate speedsters. They've got like Speed Demon, I think, is a bad guy, and that's a Spider-Man villain. So it makes sense that Spidey would go up against the speedster, and I don't know if there's really anybody else in the Marvel Universe that would be good match for a speedster, especially one as demented as Reverse Flash. So I think Spider-Man is a good match there. It's the one that makes the most sense to me. Okay. We're going to bounce back over to Marvel villains. And I still think of this guy as a villain, even though he's been redeemed. He's been, a star in the MCU. Loki's still a bad guy. And if you're going to go into mythology, the only character that makes sense to put him up against is Wonder Woman. Loki becomes a great Wonder Woman villain, which is great because Wonder Woman doesn't have a lot of good villains. Yeah, she's got Chitara and Giganta, Dr. Psycho. I know there's more. I mean, the movie tried to get us to like Dr. Poison. I don't know. Ares. Not a lot of really, not a really good rogues gallery for Wonder Woman. Where I think Loki would really be fun because he would totally mess with her. And she's got that similar attitude as Thor. Look out for the little guy and, loves battle and stuff like that. So it says Makari versus Reverse Flash. Power to power, that makes sense. But I don't know. I don't think Makari, maybe they could help out. But I like the Spider-Man mashup. But yeah, Wonder Woman and Loki, I think, is a good match. Also, I think her lasso, what would happen if the lasso got on Loki? That could be disastrous. Would it even work? See, you got a lot of fun there. Okay, switching over back to the DC villain side. Thought about this one long and hard. Brainiac. Who would you put up against Brainiac? Now, you could go the route of you need somebody really intelligent. You could put him up against Mr. Terrific or Batman or, maybe Mr. Miracle you really could think it out, but that's all DC. Who do you go up against in the Marvel Universe? Well, the Marvel Universe, you got Iron Man, but that didn't quite fit. So I thought, who's a really intelligent villain in the Marvel Universe that goes up against somebody really different? And that's when it came to mind. Brainiac versus the Hulk. Brainiac has all these big plans, but the thing you cannot calculate on is the randomness and anger of the Hulk. And he goes up against the leader, and he messes with the leader all the time. So I'm thinking, plus Greenskin versus Greenskin, it just seems like a good showdown, you know? I think I think the Brainiac versus the Hulk could be a lot of fun. I could see Brainiac building like this giant ship and all these weapons and stuff, and the Hulk just smashes his way on board and starts tearing it up from the inside. And Brainiac doesn't know Professor Hulk or regular Hulk. I like regular Hulk. I like brute, savage, rampaging Hulk. Professor Hulk is cool, but like I want him to go back to the rampaging Hulk in the movies. I want to get a really good Hulk on the loose story. So that's how I would see it. I'd like to see that happen. Plus, I think it would just mess with Brainiac. Like I said, the best way to mess with a computer is throwing variables it can't control. So, all right. Going back over to the Marvel villain side is Red Skull. Now, Red Skull is a perfect villain for Captain America. It makes a lot of sense. Nazi, American hero. They grow, they'll start together, the whole thing. But then I had to figure out, okay, well, what DC villain makes sense? And the only one that came to mind is a character that shows up in a lot. It's not Marvel or DC, but Brainiac versus Hal from 2001. Nice, I like that. So Red Skull started off in World War II. He comes to the future. What DC character has a story like that? I mean, we could do a time traveler guy, but instead of that, what about Hawkman? What about the guy that reincarnates over and over again? So maybe he was alive in ancient Egypt, and he was alive again in World War II, and came up against Red Skull in World War II, and you give him kind of that Captain America role, and then when he's reborn again later on, Red Skull comes back, he goes up against him again. So the Red Skull kind of becomes the Vandal Savage for Hawkman. Plus, I don't think Hawkman gets enough love. I think Hawkman is a great character who combines some good level of intelligence, but with just an attitude of, I'm going to kick the hell out of you. I'm going to beat you into an inch of your life, and you're going to thank me for it because I'm going to use nth metal. And that's just cool, So yeah, I think Red Skull, plus all the stuff that Hawkman has seen, I think he'd be the guy to be able to comprehend the cosmic cube and all of the weird stuff that Red Skull does. So totally down for Hawkman versus Red Skull. On the DC side, you got to take Green Lantern's biggest villain, Sinestro. When you drop him into the Marvel Universe, you got to go cosmic. You can't just assume he's going to, he's not going to be, you can't put him on an earthbound villain. You got to go cosmic. I'm thinking Silver Surfer. So Sinestro versus Silver Surfer. I think that would be a lot of fun. Cosmic spaceways, battles in the stars. You could probably take most of the Green Lantern's villains and put them into the Silver Surfer's category. All the Spacebound's one, Atrocious, all of those guys. Yeah, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see Silver Surfer versus Sinestro and him surfing through just a barrage of things that Sinestro's throwing at him, and Surfer just kind of sailing through the skyways against him. Yeah, I think visually that would be a fun one. So, all right, moving back to the Marvel villains, and this is what Ed had brought up, Galactus. Now, Galactus, it seems like, we're going to give him the Justice League. No, I don't want to make him a Justice League villain. Superman, it just seems too easy. This is a guy that travels around the cosmos eating planets. who would that get the attention of? Who would be immediately aware of somebody like Galactus and wanting to take care of that or take him out? It's got to be the Green Lantern Corps. Hal Jordan versus Galactus. Mogo the Living Planet. How cool would that be? A battle between Galactus and Mogo the Living Planet. The Green Lantern Corps seems like the perfect matchup against Galactus. Just changes the whole fight. Because all we ever see is them trying to protect Earth, or most of the time. But Green Lantern Corps protects everybody. So, it's not just Galactus is out there eating willy-nilly and then shows up on Earth and suddenly we put up a stand. You'd think eventually Galactus will go, it's just not worth going after Earth. But if the GL Corps is out there trying to stop him at every planet, that's a good one. So, all right, bouncing back over to the DC side, Deathstroke the Terminator. Now, there's a few characters that I thought he would be a good matchup. You could put him against Daredevil. You could put him against Captain America. Both of those seem to fit. Maybe even Spider-Man. But I want a darker book. I want a Max book. I want a Marvel Max book. I want them cursing and swearing and blood and guts and gore. I want an ultimate battle book. And when you do that, you got to go with the Punisher. Deathstroke versus the Punisher. Punisher is going to take out somebody. They hire Deathstroke to protect them. Story writes itself. Slade Wilson versus Frank Castle. Yeah, I could have gone with putting him up against Deadpool, but that just seems even too easy. But Deathstroke versus Punisher, I'd pay to see that movie. That would be awesome. That just would be my kind of John Wick-esque type story. Yeah, Ed said he'd pay to read that one. There you go. Yeah, so Deathstroke and Punisher just seems too perfect. All right, let's bounce back over to DC. Now, this one I moved around on. Kang the Conqueror. I was trying to think of who would be a good opponent for Kang. And I thought Silver Surfer, in the DC universe, I thought Hawkman, again. But I was good with Hawkman with Red Skull. So I was trying to think of who could frustrate Kang. Who would be annoying to Kang? Because I like the annoying level. I like that Ant-Man was annoying Kang. I think that's fun because Kang is just so arrogant and pompous. I like when he gets annoyed. And the perfect villain or the perfect hero to go up against Kang is the other time traveler, Booster Gold. Especially if Booster could still travel through time. I think he loses that. Don't remember if he's got that power now or not. He might have Rip Hunter's sphere, but him bouncing back and forth makes a lot of sense. Against Kang making all the plans, and Booster just showing up and ruining him, But never on purpose. Never, I'm going to do this and he'll stop Kang. It's more like, well, I showed up and I accidentally did this and I broke that and that stopped him. So I think Kang would be a good arch enemy for Booster Gold. Now, over on the DC villains, Ra's al Ghul. I was thinking a lot about Ra's al Ghul. Again, there's a few people he could go up against that would be good matches. Daredevil, Iron Man, because he almost becomes like a Mandarin type villain. Spider-Man would be another one. But the one I really liked was a battle of philosophies and stuff like that. And that would be Captain America. Ra's al Ghul versus Captain America. The League of Shadows versus basically America's one-man army. I just liked that idea. I liked the concept of the battle between the two. Plus, we know Ra's al Ghul loved Batman because of his detective side. He saw him as a replacement. But Captain America is too pure of heart. I could see Ra's just thinking that he needs to go because it just gets in the way, you know? I think that would be a good matchup there. Ra's al Ghul and Captain America. So, all right, bouncing back over to Marvel villains. Now, I've got an answer for this one, but I don't know if I love it. So if you guys have a better one, please jump in. But I was thinking Ultron. And Ultron to me kind of feels like a Superman villain. I've already given Superman one other villain. I gave him Magneto, which I liked a lot. Ultron, maybe he's too much like Metallo. I don't know. But I really couldn't think of a good DC hero to go up against Ultron. I mean, maybe Mr. Terrific. Maybe he's someone that Mr. Terrific built and went bad. That's kind of Batman as well, but we already gave Batman Green Goblin. Seems like there should be somebody else, some other person than Superman, and I'm just not thinking of him, you know? I mean, hell, we could go crazy and put him up against Lobo. Ultron versus Lobo could be fun. Because Ultron just keeps killing him over and over again, and then Lobo regenerates. And then Lobo destroys Ultron, but he rebuilds himself. Martian Manhunter. Cyborg. Those are both good. I didn't give Martian Manhunter a villain, but yeah, Cyborg. Cyborg versus Ultron. There's something there. Cyborg versus Ultron. The difference being what humanity Vic Stone has left. Yeah, that's got a lot of potential. I like Martian Manhunter, but I think Cyborg edges it just a little bit. So, okay, bouncing back over to the Marvel or DC villains. I wanted to find somebody for Thor. I wanted a bad guy for Thor. And I was trying to think of what would be a good bad guy for Thor. And I thought about Thor Ragnarok and the whole Planet Hulk storyline they borrowed. And I thought, well, that makes sense. Mongol in Battleworld. What if Thor ended up on Battleworld? Or he showed up there to save somebody. And you got the whole, you know, Beta Ray Bill and all these other people, all these cosmic characters that Thor deals with, but are being forced to fight each other. And he goes up against Mongol. And there really isn't another good bad guy to go up against, or another good hero to go up against Mongol. And I think he's a good villain, even though he's never made live action. He should, though. So Mongol and Thor, I think, is a good connection. And now we're down to our last two. And I'm going to flip them because one I absolutely love, and the other to me was just so perfect that I want to save it for last. The one that I actually loved is the DC villain Captain Cold. And for some reason, I want to put him against Ant-Man. You know, I just think that would be fun. Because I could see Captain Cold just getting really, really frustrated that he keeps doing stuff like freezing, and Ant-Man just shrinks things and then grows them back up or grows them out of the... I mean, I could see Ant-Man just really frustrating Captain Cold. And for some reason, I find that a lot of fun. I think that would be a fun storyline. Now, on the other hand, my last Marvel villain is Mephisto. And I think it's obvious who Mephisto has to go up against. Now, originally, I thought Dr. Fate. And as soon as I said, I got the word Fate out, my mind went, no, you idiot. John Constantine. Constantine versus Mephisto. That one just writes itself, doesn't it? I mean, come on. All right, guys, those are my swapped villains with heroes. We are going to take a break. If you guys have any others you disagree or you have better ideas or any other villains that you think need to move, let me know. Otherwise, we'll be back in a few minutes with Key Collectibles. We'll be right back.
So, the show is called The Geek Chat. And really, there's just a couple of geeks.
I'm Rich.
I'm Dez.
And we are your hosts for this weekly guide into comic bookery and all the geeky stuff that goes with it.
And that pretty much says it all. They talk about the latest movies and shows.
Okay, I'll be completely honest with you. Overall, D+ movie.
So the end. Did you know who that is?
That's She-Ra, yeah.
Yes.
The new #1 comics of the week.
We rep Samuel Jackson and we rep Mace Windu.
I passed on this. I was like...
No regrets.
No regrets. I really wanted to like this book. I really did. Like, I really did.
And just chat with each other. And with you.
Oh, Daniel says, I dosed off with the first one. I have zero interest in the Joker Harley ship, not Harley herself. Enjoy, not for me. Yeah, this movie's gonna be rough for me to sit through, I'll be honest.
The Geek Chat, Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. Just a couple of honest geeks.
Let's be honest. Come on.
And that is why people watch us, because we're honest.
Giving their honest opinions.
And the thing you always have to remember about the internet is everyone has an opinion, and they all suck.
Part of the experience.
According to a statistic that I just made up, people spend 4 hours a day changing the television channel. People who watch The Experience don't do that. Save yourself a ton of time by tuning into The Experience and enjoying our new original programming 7 days a week. And then tell your friends. Think about the money they could save on batteries in the remote alone just by tuning into The Experience. Find out more by scanning the QR code below. Did you know that Arthur, King of the Britons, and Monty Python and the Holy Grail was played by a famous Graham? Check out another famous Graham by following our Instagram.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Dan Wickline Show here on The Experience. Remember to stick around for all the great shows we've got coming up next, including What's in the Box, The Geek Chat, and SketchUp. Plus, tomorrow we have the Original Art Show and Friday Night Live. So you want to be around for that. Let's see. Triple B says that was fun. Thank you. I enjoyed that myself. Eddie says, what about Dark Phoenix versus Superman? Interesting matchup. Scarlet Witch versus Enchantress. That's a good one. Dark Phoenix versus the Spectre, I think, would also be good. Could Dark Phoenix kill Superman? Would Dark Phoenix kill Superman, or would it want to possess him and become a Dark Phoenix version of Superman? Food for thought there. All right, let's get into our key collectibles. These are villains. Some of the villains we talked about today. I didn't do all of them, but I did the first 5 on each list. We got Batman #1 has the first appearance of the Joker. This, of course, goes for a lot of money, $1.5 million, $205,000 median, low end $72,000. Then we have Action Comics number 23 from 1940. This is the first appearance of Lex Luthor. High end on this is 35,000. Median is 11,000. Low end is 3,500. Haven't seen that cover much. Flash number 139 from 1963. This is the first official appearance of Reverse Flash. There is a prototype version that appears earlier, but this is actual Professor Zoom Reverse Flash. High end on this is about 1,800. Median 600. Low end is 180. First appearance of Brainiac was in 1958 in Action Comics number 242. This goes for 10 grand. Median is about 3 grand. Low end is 1,000. And Sinestro first appeared in Green Lantern number 7 from 1961. I'm not sure exactly what Hal Jordan's doing on the cover. Looks kind of like an X-ray vision thing, which is really not very copacetic there. High end on this is 3,700. Median's about 15. Low end is 340. Then, of course, we move over to Dr. Doom, first appearing in Fantastic Four number 5 in 1962. This is a $52,000 comic. You can pick it up for $19,000 the median quality and about $5,500 on the low end. X-Men number 1, Uncanny X-Men number 1 from 1963. First appearance of Magneto, 85,000, median's 14,000. Low end's about 6,200. And you get some first appearance of some other characters in there too, but nothing important. Amazing Spider-Man number 14 is the first appearance of the Green Goblin from 1964. It's also a guest starring the Hulk, which everybody would definitely want. High end on this is 8,000, median is 2,000, low end's 800. You probably got that in the cushions of your couch. Just go pick that up. All right, then Journey to Mystery number 85 from 1962. First appearance of Loki in his horned glory. 14,000 on the high end, 4,700 on the median, 950 on the low end. Captain America Comics number 1, 1941. Of course, first appearance of Red Skull, or sort of Red Skull. I mean, he was called the Red Skull. He looked like Red Skull, but he wasn't Johann Schmidt. High end on this is 680,000. Median's 160,000. Low end 45,000. And I think that's it. All right. So that's it for the day. We appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to go watch the news and see the fallout from the verdict. You guys, don't worry about it. It's nothing important. Stick around for what's in the box. Geek Chat and Sketch Up. Much better stuff. You'll like it better. See you next week.
Wow.